Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Memorial Day. Here we are, Memorial Day 2024. I'm being a little patriotic, and I did serve for 4 years in the Air Force, so I just it's a pretty special day for me, honestly. And we decided that we're not going to come rain or shine or Memorial Day, Terry. We're not missing a show. So good morning, guys.
Good to see you, David, Monty.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, thank you for your service, David.
Appreciate that. And we're going to get started because, and by the way, rain, snow, Memorial Day, we're going to talk about money today. This is our third episode, Money Matters, and money matters pretty much every day of the week. And we know how important your money is. So I'm going to turn it over to Monty Feltz, our national lender for leaving California, and we're going to share some ideas and some thoughts about how this last week went and what's going on with Money Matters. Good morning, Monty.
Yeah, morning, David. Great to be here. So the market's closed today, as you would imagine. Thankfully, everybody's getting to take the holiday, and that's why we hope that many of you are getting to see this, and this will help you prepare for what's ahead. That's why we do this. We want you to be prepared, to be educated. That's the role we were all given. We feel blessed to get to do that and break some things down for you in our areas of specialty. So with that being the case, there's nothing today to report on the market. The market also closed last Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, so we had a little bit of a short day there, but still some interesting things that came out of last week. We got the initial jobless claims like we get every month, and those measure the individuals filing for unemployment for the very first time. And so we saw that fall for the first time in a while, and it was below estimates too by about 5,000 people filing for that. That 4 week moving average that tends to clear up some of the noise and see where we're really landing. That's up 220,000. So that's the most in 8 months. That's also the sample week that the initial claims gets pulled into the Bureau of Labor and Statistics jobs report. So that's the week they're going to pull. That's one component. 215,000 is what that's going to look like. And that's going to point to a strong jobs growth in May. So when they pull that in, that's going to be the May report. And then we'll get that the first week of June. So we know that's coming. The continuing claims, if you're following along, you're starting to get the hang of some of these terms. And that's what we want. We want you to remember what they are, educate you. The continuing claims, that means somebody that's been filing for unemployment and they're continuing to file for that. That rose 8,000 more continuing claims. So we're now at 1.79 million, nearly up to that 1.8 million. That's the highest level since November of 2021. This is all still pointing to the fact that after someone is laid off, it's much harder to find a job. So that's important. That's continuing on the same trend we keep seeing. We also got another metric here, the S&P Global Composite Index. That rose. That was more than 3 points hotter than the estimates were going to be. Now, that doesn't include some of the retailers that you might think of, but what it's saying is even though U.S. manufacturing may be weak, global manufacturing rose. And so we're seeing that going up. We're getting into expansion territory. The services rose from 51.3 to 54.8. So that's stronger than what they estimated, although employment fell for the second month in a row. Those stronger than expected reports there, along with that initial jobless claim, that's pressuring bonds lower. And so bonds, you see mortgage-backed securities, we see the 10-year treasury. We have lots of metrics here, but those bonds were pressured lower by that. Now, that's all gibberish to a lot of you probably. What I want to do is move to home sales. This is why we lead California. This is what we're all wanting to know. What does it look like to buy a house out there? So we got the new home sales numbers. This is going to measure how many signed contracts there were on new homes. And that actually fell by 4.7% in April to a total of 634,000 unit annualized pace. And so that's weaker than what they thought it was going to be. They didn't think it was going to go down like that. So there was also a negative revision to March. They go back on a lot of these reports and they revise them once they get better data and they say, oh, the month was actually here. And so when that factors in, you see that sales really fell by 8.5% from what they said in March. So sales are now down 7.7 year over year. But remember that this report measures individuals shopping for new homes during April when rates reached their absolute peak. So that does have a bearing on that. There were also 480,000 new homes for sale at the end of April, which was up 470,000 up from the 470,000 in March. So at the current pace, what we're seeing right now, there's a 9.1 month supply. That's up from 8.5. So we're seeing a bigger supply there. However, only 98,000 of those homes are completed. And so when you're looking at that pace of sales versus homes that are completed, the available supply, you got supply and demand here, there's really only 1.85 months of supply. So less than 2 months of supply that is going up slightly. But we know that when those rates drop by 1%, 5 million new homeowners, home buyers come on the market. And so we need bigger supply to handle such demand when that comes. Now, the median home price, you're going to hear some things about this, and I don't want you to be confused. The median home price was reported at $433,500, and that is down 1.4% from the previous report. It is up 3.9% year over year, but that decline is not due to home prices falling, but rather more lower priced homes being built and selling. And that's causing the median sales price to drop. That does not mean home prices are dropping. They're not dropping, they're up. As we said a few weeks ago, appreciation is up and we're moving faster in 2024 than we did in 2023. Other thing that came out last week towards the end of the week was the Fed minutes from their May 1st meeting. And so what you've got to remember there is at that point, they still only had certain reports to look at. And so we didn't get that weak jobs report until after May 1st. So you've got to know if you hear comments or articles or the media saying things about the Fed minutes said that things are not the way they're looking. Well, that was a snapshot in time. The bottom line is the Fed continues to look in the rearview mirror. It's like driving a car at full speed, but looking in your rearview mirror. Eventually, you're going to be faced with hitting a brick wall and you're going to have to make some changes. And that's the way we feel like they're doing with inflation. So they should know that inflation right now is really only coming from two areas. We went more in depth on this last week in one of the meetings I did internally, and we saw all the charts that back this up. But motor vehicle insurance and shelter costs are the two things that are keeping inflation high. They need to start making these changes. We need to start lowering rates, but it looks like it's artificially high due to those two things. So they can't do anything about the prior, and the shelter costs are not really reflecting the market rents because those are still always lagging. So we expect them to keep making these decisions, looking in the rearview mirror until it's so obvious that they can't do anything but start to drop those rates. So this week, things that we'll see, we're going to get the appreciation report tomorrow from not only Case Shiller, but also FHFA. That's the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, that's conventional loans. We see those, federal housing. And then Wednesday, we're going to get the mortgage applications. So those are interesting to see how many people are applying for mortgages right now. Thursday, we're going to get GDP reports and those initial jobless claims again, and pending home sales. Not the new home sales, but the pending home sales. What are we seeing on those? And then Friday, we get PCE, that's personal consumption expenditures. That's always cool to see too, and affects the market. So overall, we saw the market get better in terms of interest rates at the start of the week, last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday kind of got a little bit worse. So we're still right where we were. We're in a good spot. It's a fantastic time to buy a house. It really is. You are still in a window of time where you can get a great deal. You can negotiate really well. The water is not turbulent. It's really pretty calm because people are on the sideline. So,
Monty, I'm glad you started with like you're talking to you're hopefully this is music to the ears of our members. And with a lot of my clients here in Las Vegas, I keep getting this same thing, and I just wanted you to touch on this because money does matter. and people that are buying houses. There's a lot of people on the sidelines right now, as you said. And
Mhm.
I always like that you bring up that point that a 1% drop puts 5 million people in the competition. But the one comment I keep getting from my clients, Monty, is um, they keep hearing the media is what messes people up. And it's so sad what the media does. But they're like, well, yeah, I keep hearing that they're going to drop interest rates. And they are so focused and tuned on in on that. And I try to explain to them that that's not a good thing. That when the
Yeah.
interest rates come down because home prices go up. Can you address that just real quick for my clients out there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's sad, funny, all things rolled together that we expect. I think we're probably too trusting that we will be told when it's a good time to buy. Warren Buffett said you should be greedy when everyone else is fearful, and when everyone else is fearful, you should be greedy. Uh, you've got to take the opportunity when it's there, and just imagine that if it was there for everybody, wouldn't everybody be doing it? So don't be part of that herd. There's a guy that David, you and I got to hang out with last month in Las Vegas, Garrett Gunderson. Really wise financial guy. He's big on keeping people from tipping the government, paying extra taxes. I encourage everybody to look him up. Great guy. He's actually a comedian. He's very funny, and he has a funny joke about the way we tip the government is like going to a restaurant and giving the waiter a 39% tip after he spit in your food and peed in your soup. Like, yeah, it's unfortunate, but we need to start getting our own information and making our own decisions and knowing that the American media is not going to lead you down a good path. It's selling fear, it's selling scarcity, it's trying to keep you in your box and addicted to what they're saying.
Right.
Some of my favorite people in the world don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news in decades. When we moved to Nigeria and I was with ExxonMobil and all that, I mean, it just freed us from consuming so much of the media. So that would
Yeah.
be my encouragement.
Hey,
I know.
Monty, can you
Go
just
ahead.
real quick just address so let's say somebody's on the fence and they're saying, okay, gosh, do I have to get a 7% mortgage today? Can you talk about buy downs real quick? I don't know
Sure.
if we've touched upon that and why that makes sense for those who know that eventually rates will likely come down.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's multiple kinds of buy downs out there. There are 1-0 buy downs, meaning you get 1% down for the first year. Those are pretty easy. Those you can nearly do on your own with a tiny bit of creativity. You can't really do them on your own, but I could show you how you could do it as close to possible. The bigger ones you hear are the 2-1 buy down. So that's going to be 2% down for the first year from wherever the market rate is for that whole 12-month period, those first 12 payments. And then the second year, payments 13 to 24, that's going to be 1% down from where the market was when you bought the house. So 2-1 buy down, that's pretty cool. The other one I love doing is the 3-2-1 buy down. So that's where somebody's going to go from having a 6.99 rate to a 3.99 rate for the first year, whole 12 payments there. Then that second year, you're going to be at a 4.99 if that's the rate that you were at, which is roughly possible when you do it the way that I structure it. That's still very possible to have. For a while there, we were able to push those down even like a 5.99 so that it went to a 2.99. And so we'll get back there as rates get better. We'll be able to continue to push these down. But first year, 3.99, second year, 4.99, third year, even your worst case, if you had to keep that loan for 3 straight years, you'd be at a 5.99. People would kill for that right now. The coolest thing about all of it, and I think where it gets lost, is people hear about the rate and they love that. You're not losing any of the money. It's not like if you permanently bought down. If you permanently bought down, you used your money. It might cost you $20,000 to get down 2% because you bought it down for 30 straight years. When you're doing it this way, it doesn't take near that much money and you're getting it down 3% for the first year. And if you refinance in that first year, which I think you will, I think you probably will do that, even though you might say, why would I refinance if I'm at a 3.99? Okay, fair point. You might wait till the second year and hope that rates keep going. But if you did, you would get all the rest of that money that was set aside for the temporary buy down. It goes into an escrow account. You would get that money back versus a permanent buy down. You lose that money. You spent it. I hope you saved enough because if you end up refinancing in the next 18 months, you probably made a bad decision. You spent $20,000 to save $500 a month on your payment, yeah, that's 6,000 a year, but 6,000 a year is going to take you over 3 years to get to where it made sense to have done that. Whereas you could have done it way better with the temporary buy down, not only 2% down, you did 3% down. And if you refinanced at the 13th month, you're great because all the rest of that money that was sitting in that account goes to you. You can go on vacation with it, you pay your loan down with it. So many options. I would tell people, talk to me. Let me show you. I've got a really cool calculator that I just plug it in and I tell you what it would be. So I'll give one good example here. If you were to buy a $650,000 house in Knoxville, Tennessee, let's say with our friend Amy Lee Lucas or Haley Van Edom, instead of having a principal and interest payment at 3450, you would have a principal and interest payment at 2480. So you
Wow.
save nearly $1,000 a month on your payment just because of the way we structured it. So
Wow.
it's amazing.
That's
Mm.
great. And then also you can get seller concessions, right? So the seller could help pay for that if you can find a seller who's looking to move their house. And
You need to. You have to have the seller pay for these.
okay,
You can't pay for them yourself because I mean you could, but it would make no sense because all you're doing is prepaying the interest. It's
right.
important to put that disclaimer in there that you didn't actually get a 3.99. You got a 6.99 for 30 years, but for the first year, the interest was prepaid enough in that escrow account that it's like you got a 3.99 because what the seller set aside.
I see.
So yeah, you might pay a little more for the house, but you saved $1,000 a month on your payment. Or you offer them this, like you're saying, with the seller concession, you can offer it to see if they'll take it, and then we compromise, work in the middle. But there's so many options. Yeah, it's great.
And our that we're so blessed to have you, Monty. I mean, you are such a good numbers guy, and it's so amazing to have a national lender and someone of your stature on this show every week. My tip this week on relocations is budgeting. And since you're way more of a numbers guy than me, just wanted just to remind people to make sure that you budget wisely and the importance of budgeting when you're thinking about relocating and going to a new place, make sure you break down your expenses. There's a lot of expenses that maybe you didn't even think of. And also you want to make sure you allocate the funds and make sure that you have a detailed budget on your relocation. Make sure you want to make it a smooth transition. So by budgeting, do you want to touch on that just real quick and how you explain to your clients about budgeting for your relocation?
Yeah, one, I would say you got to have a phenomenal realtor, no matter where you go, because they're going to help you so much with budgeting and relocation. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And so it's the realtor you get with, which I know, David, you'd be happy to talk to anybody that was looking at relocating to say, what should we be thinking about? What are we missing? What's that thing that's going to hit us and we're not thinking about in our budget? But I would tell you the hardest thing is the first step. It's just putting it down and saying, what would it take? Also, there's lots of misinformation out there about how much it does cost, and there are creative ways to spend less money. You
Yeah.
don't have to put 20% down on buying a house. So even if you're thinking, oh, I got to have this big down payment and it's going to be so hard, it's not necessarily true. Relocation, the same thing, the moving costs. We've got great people that can move you for better prices. Um, so yeah, I would say it's customized. You have to have experts around you. As in anything in life, you do better if you listen to somebody that's done it more times.
Right. Yeah.
It's the bigger pile principle. He who has the bigger pile should be the one that's helping you know how to do it better.
Thank you so much. And then I want to just, as we're wrapping up this show, we're trying to keep it, around 15 minutes each week, and we want to give you a quick blast of what's going on. And, our founder, Terry Gilliam, the person that had the vision of putting all this together, I know how in tune he is with California. And by the way, Terry, is it getting better or worse in California lately? What's going on in California?
Depends on your point of view, David.
And it's great to have you back. We missed you on our show last week, Terry. I know you were traveling and you had a
I
good
was in
time.
beautiful Montana last week at this time. It was what's wild is that so here in Florida this week, I think we might have a high in the upper 90s, maybe even 100. when I was in Montana, the high each day was 60 degrees. So it was pretty, it was a whole lot cooler with snow on the mountaintops that was fresh.
Well, it's good to have you back, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you. And I know that all of our 300, almost 300,000 members appreciate you and putting all this stuff together to get information. Remember, we come from a place of giving. We just want to give you the information that you need. If you're thinking about leaving, I mean, you really need to contact a professional, like Monty said. We do this every day of our lives, and we're here to help you. So anything in closing, Monty?
Oh, I would say go make it a great day. Thank a veteran for their service. Take a minute and reflect on that. That we get to live in this country and have these freedoms because somebody else didn't. They stepped up and they made a really hard decision. And there's mamas and daddies behind those people and kids. And so it's important to remember that we live in a great, great country that has had its foundation built by great men and women. And not to make you sad, you need to go out and live your life.
Yeah.
Leave California, do it. You only live once. It's that quality time left.
Yeah.
Go make it happen today.
Amen.
And in closing, Terry, any closing thoughts on this beautiful Memorial Day? It's 80 degrees right now and sunny, of course, in Las Vegas. Closing thoughts?
I just hope people appreciate the fact that we have people like Monty and almost 350 realtors in our network who passionately want to help you. If you want to leave California, they can help you. They are the experts that Monty is describing, someone who knows, and a lot of them came from California to where they live now. And feel free to reach out to Monty. He'd be happy to have a consultation with you and help you come up with a game plan on the best way to finance your move out of California.
And I'm David Berry. I'm your National Relocation Director. May all your barbecues and your family gatherings be amazing and just having an amazing day. But please don't, as Monty said, don't forget about the people that put their life on the line and gave us the greatest country in the world. So have a great Memorial Day, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.